Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Today, we have another guest. We're going to do an interview. No flash fiction today, but a flash interview, a short one. And we have Mr. OG Mike D, and he's going to favor us with some, he's a former boxing trainer, and he's going to favor us with some stories from the boxing world. Take it away, Mike.
Thanks for having me, Tone. I appreciate it. Story I was going to tell you today is about the time I went to Tijuana, Mexico with Kenny the Machine Gun Mitchell. Kenny was at the end of his boxing career. He had been a world champion. He had fought probably 30, 40 fights, and he was just about to retire. They called us from Mexico wanting to get a fight for Erik Morales, who later became a multi-world champion, fought Manny Pacquiao and many other great fighters. Great fighter. And so Kenny said he would take the fight only if it was a world title fight, and only if I was the one that was going to handle all his business for the fight and handle his training. So I passed that on to the promoters, and we arranged to have the fight in Mexico for the NABF championship, which is the North American Boxing Federation. So we trained. Kenny was always in real good shape. We flew out to Mexico, and we went to the press conferences. They really promote boxing big there. So we got ready, signed all the paperwork, get ready for the fight. We get there, and it's a huge fight, the packed house. Thousands of people there. They broadcast it on television and everything else. So early on in the fight, Kenny's doing pretty good, and they were kind of worried before the fight. In fact, they asked me because it was a stepping stone for their guy to move up to this level to fight Kenny Mitchell. Kenny, like I said, had been a world champion. So if he could get past Kenny Mitchell, then he had, he was ready for the next step in his career, Erik Morales. So before the fight, they kind of asked me, they were worried, well, do you think Kenny's too much for our guy or whatever? And I said, well, I don't know. I don't know a lot about Morales at the time. He was young. I said, but Kenny's going to give him a good fight. It's just, he's at the end of his career, but he's going to give him a good fight. Well, early in the fight, Kenny's doing pretty good. Caught Erik with some good punches and kind of scared him. And so he came back to the corner, and I was kind of thinking, man, Kenny may beat this guy, and we got to get out of here. These people are going to be angry, and there's a huge crowd, So, and it's just me. I'm working cuts. I'm working the corner. I'm giving him water, everything. There's nobody else but me and Kenny there in Mexico. And so he goes back out for the fourth round, and man, Erik, they had him pumped up, and you could tell he was just warming up. He caught Kenny with a real good hard punch and dropped him. And Kenny got up. Kenny's a warrior, and he got up and continued to fight. And then Erik just became too much for him, and they stopped the fight. So lost the fight, and we went back to the hotel. Kenny was in good spirits. Like I said, he had fought probably 40 fights at this time, or so, something in that area. He had just came back from fighting in Amsterdam the month before, or a couple months before, whatever it was. And anyway, so we were to get paid the next day. They would bring us to San Diego, and we'd fly back home. So we they pick us up in the morning to go pick up our money and bring us to the airport, and they paid us with cash. That's how they paid there, with U.S. currency. And so we had thousands of dollars in a bag. And so we get to the border to go back to the airport to fly home, and there's just a backup of cars from the border, and it's not moving. And the driver tells us, he said, hey, if we stay in this line and drive across the border, you're not gonna make it to your flight in San Diego. He said, if you want, you can walk across the border checkpoint and just catch a cab on the other side. When you get there, they'll bring you, there's a bunch of cabs, and they'll bring you straight to the airport for minimal money or whatever. The only thing is, I'm worried at that time is we've got a bag of cash, that we have to make to that border checkpoint, and I don't know if it's a setup. I don't know, I have no idea, because the guy that's driving us, I don't know him. He's just a driver that they sent with us. So we're sitting there contemplating, and I told Kenny, I said, hey, Kenny, we're going to go ahead and walk across there. But I said, when we get out of this car, let's get moving. We're going to make it to that checkpoint as fast as we can. And so I said, all right, we're going. So we grabbed our bags. We had two bags, duffel bags full of boxing equipment, and a bag of cash payment for the fight. And so, man, we moved. We almost ran with all our stuff to that border checkpoint. And when we opened that door and got in there and saw those U.S. border agents, man, I was stoked, man, to have made it across that way, And we got through, and the guy asked us, hey, what are y'all doing in Mexico? And, well, we just came from a fight. He fought, he asked him if he won. We had the newspaper article to show him, hey, yeah, this is it. And they, okay. They didn't even check us or nothing. They just let us go through. We caught our flight and made it back. But it was a good time with Kenny Mitchell in Mexico.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, the flight going over and the flight coming back. I suspect the flight coming back was a little more relaxing than the flight going over.
I think
knowing
so.
that you're,
I think so.
Once the fight's over, even though the guy lost, you're coming back, and so it's like, well, we're coming back home. Want to get back home.
Right. Always. I mean, me personally, I'm always in a hurry to get back home. I like being at home, and I'm happy to be home. So no matter where it is.
That's all. I was just.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, as far as tension or whatever, yeah, you're way more relaxed. It's over. The battle's over. The loss, guys win and lose. Kenny had fought plenty of fights. He lost in the amateurs to pros. No big deal to him.
It's right there on the water, right? It's just right. It's right on the water.
Yes,
right?
Flying in is always beautiful too. You could see. I've seen whales there before.
Oh, really?
In. Yes, seen all kind of stuff. Because when you're over like that, over the ocean, it may loop around back to the airport or whatever, you can see a lot more from up there. Really, really neat.
Did y'all fly in the daytime then?
Yes.
Okay.
We usually would fly in the day, and they would pick us up at the airport and drive us over to Mexico.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, for reminiscing and letting us know about the fight over there in Mexico. And if there's anything else you want to add before we wind it up?
No, that's all, man. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much, and can't wait to come back and tell some more stories.
Oh, great. Okay. Folks, thanks for listening. Take care.